You're now tuned in to the Desire to Trade podcast, a show where we bring you the best figures of the trading world and teach you how you can become a successful trader. This is your host, Ellaine Escueta.
Hey, what's up, traders? I'm Fatih, founder of Desire to Trade, and welcome to this next episode of the Desire to Trade podcast. In this episode, I'm talking with Ellaine Escueta. She's the second woman to be in the podcast, and she's trading Forex. She started to trade in a pretty unusual way. And at some point, she got discouraged about trading. She didn't want to continue, but then she realized something. And I'll let you listen to the episode to see what she realized. It's something that most traders don't necessarily go through. And then she picked herself up to get back to trading and invest more wisely into trading. Now you'll see the advice she has. There's a couple of great things, and I'm summarizing everything at the end. So make sure you listen to the episode. And at the end, if you have any feedback, let me know. Check out the Facebook group as well. desiretotrade.com/group. You can join the Facebook group for free. And I hope to see you there, connect with you, help you out, and do anything I can to help you succeed. Now we'll go on with the interview. Tell us what's going on these days for you.
I just got back from about a 3-week vacation, so still settling back in. I did miss my charts, obviously, and because I did make a promise during our vacation that I wasn't going to look at the charts or do any trading, so I pretty much just did. I did some actually when getting off and on the plane, but other than that, nothing really.
Okay, but that's the hard reality for traders, though. It's something you have to deal with sometimes. Getting off the chart, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it is, and the reason why I did that actually is I did make that promise just because it's the reason we do all of this really is so we can have more time and enjoy our time with, significant others and family. And that's what I wanted to do, just have a great time without any trading or business related stuff.
Interesting. So tell us about a quote that inspires you.
The quote that inspires me, it's the one that I learned throughout, trading and life in general. It's that never let anyone define what you can and you can't do. Anything that's worth, striving for, I believe has a high failure rate. Everyone's going to tell you in trading that it's about a 90% failure rate, but it doesn't mean that you have to be in that 90%. It's going to be you who has to determine if you want to be in that 90% or that 10%. So, yeah.
Totally right. So we'll go back a little bit in time, and I want you to tell us how you started to trade exactly. How did you get involved in trading?
That might be quite a long story, but I started. To be completely honest, I'm not one of those people who actually was into trading or wanted to be a professional trader or an entrepreneur from the moment I was young or I was born. I didn't really learn or know of markets or any of this until I believe it was senior year in high school. We had to read we had to read books before a class. It's an English class. And I was never a big fan of fiction. So to make the long story short, I ended up picking up a book, and it happened to be a stock trading book. And after that, after reading all of that, I just really just fell in love with how it is, the markets, and the way I saw it. This is raw information of people's emotions and reactions to news, to anything that can happen. And I just really fell in love with it. So after graduating high school, I was going to college, but I was on the side. I was actually, trying to learn for myself about different markets, how to trade, and all of that. The first thing I came through was learning about the stock markets and how technical analysis was. I started, I believe, just during that summer. I was doing those virtual trading for stock markets. I wasn't really I didn't have enough money for that time to put up for doing stocks straight up and opening a brokerage account and anything like that. I believe it was $10,000 or $50,000 that they wanted for you to open up
wow, okay.
an account for a firm. And I didn't have that. So I just stuck with virtual trading. And then I was learning through technical analysis, and then I found this ad about it said start trading with $50. And it was it was actually for Forex. And that's when I started trying to learn Forex, and I actually opened up an account. I did start it with about $500, I believe. And that time I kind of moved from system to system, just putting up every time my account goes down $100, I would put up $500, and then learn a different system and try to trade that. And then when that starts losing, I move on to a different system, add another $500. And to be honest, I don't even remember how much I actually lost during that time. At a certain point, I guess, I got tired of kind of replenishing that. So I took a break from trading altogether. I said, I'm just not going to trade. So I stopped. And then about 6 months later, I don't remember what made me look at my account again, because I never actually closed the account. I just stopped trading altogether. So I looked at my account, and I saw that my account had actually almost tripled. So that's what I considered kind of like a turning point of, my trading career, or where I want this to go. I told myself that if I know, or if I remember why I had this trade, then I could just continue what I'm doing, try to learn all the technical analysis, and look online and start searching for just being more proficient with technical analysis. But I didn't know why I entered a trade. So the first realization that I had then was that I don't know what I'm doing, and I need someone to teach me what I'm doing. And the second realization that I had is that if I did know what I was doing, this could be more than just a hobby. This could be more than just something I enjoy. It could be something more than that. So that was about, I believe, 2011. Yeah, 2011 when that all happened. So I started searching for someone who I can learn from. And I first came across a guy, I forgot his name, but he did that. He did some live rooms that you can come in. Every day he would do live rooms, and then he has some education stuff with it also. He sends out PDF files of what MACDs and RSIs and Fibonacci's, how those are. And I started following him for a while. And I thought I was doing good until I started actually trying to trade by myself, trying to make decisions without, him talking about it.
It's kind of a different story, right? When you start to trade for real.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's like you look at everyone who's teaching you, any educators. And the way they do it, when they do it themselves, it makes it look so easy. And then when you're by yourself, it's completely different.
I just want to go back on that trade you had open for a few moments. You said you tripled your account. So how was it? How long did that trade last exactly?
That was about 6 months, actually, because I guess I forgot that I left that trade when I completely said that I'm going to be out of the market for a while. I forgot that I had that trade.
So then you're at the point where you're trying to apply everything and it doesn't work. Like, it's pretty tough. So what happens then?
So what happened was, I looked at how he was trading again, and then this time I have that different set of eyes. You have that, at first when you're trying to learn, at first you have that, listen in, taking everything. By the time you're about ready to put in your own strategies, you have a different set of eyes. You start to determine the little subtleties, and you start to kind of identify what makes that trading system. And one of that was, I remember it was Fibonacci retracements and extensions. And for some reasons, every time he does trades, he has Fibonacci extensions, but it's already been placed in there. And then so I started asking him, how do I get that Fibonacci extensions on my chart? Because it seemed that was the main trouble that I was having. I can't figure out how to really get that Fibonacci extensions. So I never got any response to it during the live rooms that he had. He had a chat room open, but it was one of those private ones. But I don't know, maybe he never saw my question. So after that, I realized, I told myself this is not the one I wanted to learn from. So I started searching again for another person. And that's the time that I remember I saw a video from Jason Stapleton. Actually, he had a Fibonacci extension and retracement video that I watched. When I saw it, I thought it was so simple. It was so easy to follow. And that after I saw that, I was like, if I can learn this much for something that's free, then, he must have something that I can take a look at. So I went through his site, and I went through, the first thing I went through actually is his pro trader course, which was really great. I learned a lot from it. I was about break even. I was sort of consistent. I realized I need someone who can walk through it with me. And then, it was about late 2012, I think. They had this turning point webinar, and it was with Akil, and it was about a week long. And that one, I went through that, and I thought it was really great. I learned a lot from it. So that's when I went through Akil's course. And then, after Akil's course, then it's just all about backtesting and being more consistent about it. And that's really it.
Cool. And so then you started to apply by yourself, and then it started to make sense, right?
Yes. And this time it's actually a lot easier, a lot simpler. I don't have as much stuff in my chart as I used to. But I felt like it's way more effective than what I was doing previously.
Mm-hmm. So what I get from your story is that it's not necessarily about finding one specific technique, but it's more about finding the person that's going to help you with that technique, right?
Yes. And someone that could simplify something for you in a way that you can understand.
Uh-huh. So how long did that take for you to be profitable from the beginning?
From the very beginning, before I found, Jason and Akil, probably took about 4 years.
Okay. That's pretty average, so it's not that bad.
Yeah, yeah. I still feel it's like it's a long time, but yeah, it took about 4 years
Uh-huh.
because yeah, I graduated about 2007, and yeah, about four actually yeah 4 or 5 years actually 5 years.
And what would you say was one of your biggest mistake as a trader?
My biggest mistake, what I consider my biggest mistake is actually not looking for someone to teach me right off the bat, right when I started, or right when I told myself that I'm really interested about this stuff and this is something I want to learn. My philosophy is that with money, it's something that you can replace. So, but time is not something you can replace. And I feel like, if I had spent that time, instead of trying to learn it by myself and telling myself that I'm smart enough to learn all of this by myself. If I just found someone who can teach me and go through it with me, I would have been, I would have done it a lot better. I spent less time, and be profitable a lot sooner.
Hmm. I feel exactly the same way, so I'm glad you mentioned this for sure. I think it took me a long time to just figure things out and just want to do everything by myself, but once you kind of get help from other people, it's a lot faster for sure.
Entrepreneurs in general, anyone who's starting a business, you have that kind of stubborn mentality. You think that you can learn everything, you can do everything by yourself because you're this, you think you're smart enough. And I thought that too. I'm not, think I'm pretty smart. So that's why I thought all these things I can learn from myself and everything will be available online. But what I failed to realize then was that, there is a lot of misinformation that you can get just by doing it online by yourself.
Hmm. Yeah, this is totally true. There's so much stuff out there. I've seen a couple of your videos on YouTube, but just tell us, what is your main trading style today?
Main trading style. I'm a technical trader, and I usually trade advanced patterns and structure. So I do mostly advanced patterns, but I'm still working on my structure trading. I think I'm better, but it's still not as proficient as I want to be.
Okay. And that is traded on a swing basis, meaning if you, like higher time frames or?
Yes, I do the swing trading and day trading. 4-hour chart up down to the 5-minute chart.
Okay. All with advanced patterns or different type of setup?
I'm actually backtesting a new strategy for structured trading. When I was going through the course, we learned about what they call the combined technical score, or CTS scoring. Uh-huh. And I'm kind of getting different things to go on that to get a strategy that will work for me.
Interesting. Now, what does your day look like as a trader today?
It would consist of me waking up about 3:30 in the morning, my time. Yes, a lot early because I am on Pacific time, and then so I get ready and eat breakfast, most important thing of the day, and then kind of look through my email for a bit. And then around 4:30, I start to do my own analysis. I go through my whole portfolio. It consists of 9 pairs. And then I do I look at it as swing trade perspective. And then around 5 a.m. my time, I go to Akil's live room. So I'm there up until 8 a.m. my time. And then afterwards, I just do probably 2 to 3 hours, improving, for trading education, just, continuously improving, looking at my trades, analyzing my trades. And then the rest of the day is just free for me to do.
Interesting. And how does that contrast with what you were doing before trading?
I don't have any consistency before. Before it's just, going from different jobs, and, going from places to places, without any consistency. I didn't think about a future or anything like that. And that's really the main difference.
And if I had to ask you what were the 2 or 3 key elements to your success, what would you say they are?
I would say perseverance, patience, and hard work.
Yeah, so let's get into hard work. What does that mean for you?
For me, that means that you're going through your charts day in, day out, back testing new strategies, and after you've learned all that, become proficient and become consistently profitable, you go back to your charts and analyze your trades, on a daily or weekly basis.
And is that something you've been doing every single week for the past few months, I guess, or yeah?
Yes, except for my vacation time.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But that's good. And what do you think are the main challenges you're facing in trading? Or that other traders face, maybe?
The main challenges, a lot of it, I think, is the psychology. The biggest thing, I guess, is, especially if you're just fairly new with trading and you finally have come up with your own trade that you independently made a decision on. And then everyone tells you something different. Everyone tells you how wrong you are, and you start to doubt yourself. That doubt that you have is one of the biggest challenge to overcome, because that can, if you let that get to you, that's what gets you in trouble.
Mm-hmm. So it's basically not the fact of necessarily being alone, but the fact of having your own mind and making your own decision, right?
Yeah, making your own decision. It's scary. Yeah. Because, when you have other people, you're like, yeah, you agree with them. It's, you have a lot of people that would agree with you, and it's always scary to just decide for yourself and have your own decision.
You have to be comfortable with what you're doing, right? Because if you're not comfortable, then it's easier to get influenced by other people.
Yes, and that's why back testing, I always say it on my videos, back testing is actually really, 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 really important for your trading career, because that's the main thing that will get you or give you the confidence of your system. Mm-hmm. So you don't get those doubts whenever other people question you.
And for the people wondering what backtesting is, could you tell us how you're doing it and like what tools you're using?
Oh yeah. So for me, I do manual backtesting. All you really need is the data and a charting platform. And then what I do is I just manually go back about probably 5 years previous, and just start picking up trades depending on my rules.
Mm-hmm. And do you have a number of trades you want to take before considering a strategy is valid?
Usually what I do is that I kind of, so I set some rules for me, and then I go back for that 5 years. If by the 10th trade, I'm still getting a lot of fake outs, or I'm still not getting the results that I want, then I scratch it and then go back to basic. Just scratch everything, start from the beginning. And then I do that. So that's really what I do whenever I think of a different strategy. And usually the strategy comes up in my mind when I'm trading, and I see something on the charts that I feel like I've been seeing for quite a while. Then so I start to formulate a strategy, set of rules from that time, and then I start my backtesting. So if the first 10 trades is not what I want it to be, then I scratch it.
I think that's a really, really good advice. And any other advice you would have for aspiring traders right now?
I think the best advice that I could give is that any trade, winning or losing, is a learning opportunity. A winning trade can give you optimal entries and exits, and you can learn from it that way. And losing trades is you can start to see all those filters. You can start to identify filters that you can use for the future.
I think that's great. So how can people find you exactly?
I am on Twitter, TradingView, and YouTube, and they all have the same handles. It's Ellaine, spelled with 2 L's, so Ellaine, and Escueta, Escueta, and they all have the same handle, so you can find me on those.
And you're doing your mid review every single week,
yes.
Right? So it's pretty useful for people. I think they're gonna check this out for sure. And of course, everything's gonna be in the show notes as well. So you guys can check out thisartstrade.com to see the show notes. Everything's gonna be there. Everything we talked about, the programs we talked about, the books, if any. We didn't talk about any books, but it's all gonna be in the show notes on thisartstrade.com. And what goals do you have for the future, Ellaine?
For me, there's a few things actually. One is that I'd like to be as proficient with other markets as well, futures and options, to be more specific. And the other one is to be more involved in social media. I was really not used to being in social media, so this is all new for me.
Yeah, it takes some time to learn. And what is your main motivation?
Main motivation is just my future. I look at it, and the way I see it, the more proficient I get in this, the more time, the more money I can have to, spend that time to enjoy, vacations and places with, significant others and families. And, that's really my main motivation.
Cool. So I'm going to have one last question for you, which is a little bit tough. But if you could give only one piece of advice for traders, what would that one sentence of advice be?
One piece of advice. I think it goes back to the quote that I've learned. It's never let anyone define what you can and you can't do.
Wow, that's awesome. So Ellaine Escueta, thanks a lot for being on the podcast. It's been a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you so much.
Alright, so I hope you guys like the interview with Ellaine Escueta. It's been good to have her on the podcast. I think she mentioned a couple of great things. First of all, it's the importance of backtesting. You need to backtest. There's no way you can go around it. And if you're following me on social media, you probably see me backtesting all the time because I post a lot about it. And the second thing is for you to find someone who can help you out in trading. You don't have to follow me. You don't have to take advice from me. But just have someone who can guide you through trading. Because it's really tough to learn alone. And it's going to take much more time. So pick someone you trust. Get to know what they do. Get to talk with them. And get them to show you what they do. Because that's going to help. And if you pick the right person, even if you have to pay something, you're going to get your investment back in no time. If you've listened to a few episodes of the podcast so far and liked it, go leave a review on iTunes. That helps a lot to spread the word about the podcast. It's not only for me, but it's to help other people get aware of the podcast. The more people we can help, and the more people can get advice from successful traders, the more impactful we can be together. If you have any recommendation, just let me know, and I'll make sure I follow up with you. So on that note, I'll see you in the next episode of the Desire to Trade podcast. Ciao.
you.